opportunity. For those of you who called me and texted me throughout this process, I apologize I didn't respond. I think you probably know why. But I obviously wanted to share my apologies for not responding. First and foremost, I have a number of people I want to thank for working with us on this case. Our compliance team did an outstanding job in putting together our reinstatement request and getting it submitted. So I'm really proud of the work that they did. I want to thank the Big Ten Conference for their guidance as we went through this process. We're very fortunate to have at this point in time two commissioners who gave us good guidance and the staff there. I want to thank Tim Nevius, who was the attorney for Chase and his family, and his input and his support as we went through this process. University Communications, Chris Davey, Ben Johnson, who helped us throughout this. And first and foremost, but ultimately I wanted to thank Chase and his family. Chase took the high road, was highly cooperative throughout this process, provided us an opportunity to request a reinstatement and ultimately get the reinstatement that you guys are aware of. We did receive information, went through a process of interviewing a number of people to try and ascertain the facts, which is what we typically do. We suspended Chase as soon as we realized we had a potential challenge. But our compliance team did a great job of interviewing a number of different people to try and ascertain the facts, and I was really appreciative of Chase and his family and how they worked with us to get to that. We submitted our reinstatement request on Tuesday morning. We were fortunate to get that done in that time frame and get it to a point where the NCAA staff was able to expeditiously give us a response that you are aware of. So earlier today we got that response and ultimately shared it with you. Want to make sure we all understood the process, and that's why I'm here today. I'm not going to talk about details of the case. That's not going to happen here today. I'm here to just help you understand the process. Once we realize a potential violation occurred, and let me let you know that the violation relates to 12.1.2.1.6. You guys can go look that up. It's about preferential treatment. It's a piece of legislation that's been in our books since the 90s. Very important piece of legislation relative to recruiting and inducements, and so that's the case that we're talking about. The staff, the NCAA staff will process violations and waivers around the eligibility of the student athlete. So we submitted our reinstatement request to staff, and they have the ability to make a decision. Once staff renders a decision, we have an opportunity to appeal that decision. In this particular case, we chose to not appeal. Everyone is in agreement with that, including the young family. So we decided not to do that. Was an opportunity to possibly get an appeal done by this weekend, possibly. There's a 5-person committee made up of Division I administrators who would have heard that appeal had we chose to do that. Penalty structure ranges from 4 games down to 0. Obviously, in this particular case, staff felt that mitigating facts took it to a point where only a 2-game suspension was necessary. So that is the process. Pretty straightforward. I have Justin Cuney here from our compliance team who might want to maybe add a couple more facts. I want to be clear that the accusations did not come from anyone from Maryland, did not come from anyone from Penn State or any other school in the Big Ten Conference, despite all the things that my teammates are telling me that is out there in that social media sphere that I am totally unfamiliar with. But I want to be clear that it was not someone from Maryland or Penn State from what I'm hearing. The other thing I want to be clear about is one of our own, Kurt Herbstreet, was trying to lay out the scenarios. So I want to make it clear that From what I understand, from what I heard, he was trying to lay out the scenarios, and we're really appreciative for the fact that he was trying to lay that out. I think a lot of that was misunderstood, what he was trying to represent and share. I know there's a lot of rumors out there. I was trying to explain the process so we can alleviate some of those rumors. And I apologize to all of you that I can't get into the details of the case. That's obviously for the family to do. There's some FERPA issues around that and privacy issues, so I'm not going to even tread into that space. So if you have questions around process or timing or any of those type of things, I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. And I may defer some of them to Justin because he's more of an expert in this space than I am.
Now we'll ask that if we can just keep it to one initially, if we can get through this list of people, and then if there's some time for some follow-up, we'll go ahead and do that. We'll open it up front row right, Austin from Letterman Row.
Gene, when you compare this and put it together with the name, image, and likeness thing going on, has this is maybe one of the first examples where it felt like everyone was in agreement that Chase is better off on the field, and the players are starting to have more support when these rules violations happen, and there needs to be a change. Are administrators sensing that, and when you go through this and combine that with the other process that was going on, did it change your mind at all, or do you sense that different way people are evaluating these suspensions?
No, you know, I really think that name, image, and likeness is an important thing for us to do, and I think all of you know that. You know, we always need to continue to find ways to provide additional benefits to our student athletes, and I think that hopefully someday, some year, we'll get to that around all the politics that we're dealing with. However, you're right. In reality, when you look at this particular case, it fits. It fits directly into what we're trying to do in that space. It fits directly into what we're trying to do with cost of attendance. There's no question about that. That's a great question.
Second row middle, Steve from 24/7 Sports.
Yeah, Gene, you mentioned it's not Penn State, it's not Maryland, and I guess, are we left to presume that this is something that someone reported directly to the NCAA and they came to you with a letter of inquiry or allegations? Is that?
No, it was reported to us.
It was reported directly to Ohio State?
Yes.
And then you took it to the NCAA?
Correct.
Was it an anonymous report, or is there a name tied to it?
Steve, I'm not going to get into that. The reality is we received an accusation, and we do what we always do. We run it to the ground. We ran this one to the ground.
Due diligence type thing?
Do our due diligence, interviewed all the people that we thought should be interviewed. Fortunately, we had someone like Chase, you know, and you know, there's a lot of people who, in my past, you know, you don't go to war for. Because there may be serial behavioral issues. This young man's at the top of the pyramid. You already interviewed him. You know how great a young man he was, and he was highly cooperative and allowed us to run this to ground actually pretty fast, frankly. I apologize, I'm not going to get into the details on it.
Third row left, Dan from 11 Warriors.
Gene, I know that you guys do a lot of education with players on compliance. When something like this happens, does it make you have to do more in terms of making sure players know whatever happened here was a violation?
Yeah, no question. And, fortunately, at the end of the day, we have again someone like Chase who's going to help us with that. You know, he apologized to his teammates like right off the bat, which was highly commendable. Great representation of his character. But I'm sure as we move forward, as we ask him to have conversations with other teams, then he'll do that for us, I'm sure, to talk about his experience and what type of things you need to avoid. So we have someone like him that'll help us in that regard. Student athletes respond better to student athletes than they do old heads like me. So fortunately, we'll have him for a little while, and hopefully he'll help us. I'm sure he will.
Far left, Lori from 610 WTVN.
Gene, you talked about the education and compliance issues. You also have an emergency fund where you can assist student athletes. Was that a potential for him in this case, or would it not have applied?
I'm not going to get in that, Lori. I'm going to stay away from the details of the case because that would take me into the details of the case if I answered that. I'm sorry.
Front row right, Tim, Letterman Row.
Yeah, just two quickies, Gene. Number one, can you give a ballpark of what the figure was that was involved?
No, I can't.
Yeah. And Then number two, past that, was it,
This is hard not talking to you guys. You guys know, that's why I didn't return your text messages and phone calls, because you know how hard this is for me, right?
yeah,
God. Go ahead.
was,
I'm an open book, you know that.
Just turn the mic
Was-
off and we're off.
No, I know.
anonymous source. Was Chase's reaction to it, et cetera, his forthrightness, is that why it's a two-game, from your vantage
That
point? I mean,
contributed.
is that, how much did that contribute to
Oh,
it?
no question, that contributed, it contributed in a great way, because we were, one, able to move expeditiously. We were able to line up the interviews consistent with what we thought it should be, because he brought transparency. And his background, you know, I'm sure when the NCAA staff reviewed it, considered his history. And, you know, he doesn't have a blemish. And so, you know, we're educators, and when you have someone like that who made an honest mistake, as he did, but becomes transparent in everything that we needed him to do, yeah, there's no question in my mind that staff probably considered that in making their decision.
Front,
Mitigating factor.
sorry about that. Front row right, Bill from the Dispatch.
You've dealt with the NCAA for a long time. How would you term or characterize the speed with which this was resolved? And how much did you, let's say, pressure the NCAA, but ask the NCAA to resolve this as quickly as possible?
Yeah, you don't pressure. So, no, you know, I think they were phenomenal. And I don't know if I'm said it, but I think the staff changes that have occurred over there have been positive, and we worked with them along the way. Compliance staff, maybe every day, every other day, kept them in the loop. So it was a situation where it's not just landing on their desk. They know we're cooperative, they know we do our due diligence, and they respected that. So I think that level of cooperation helped us in this particular case. Yeah, I think they moved exceptionally fast, considering we gave them the submission on Tuesday morning, and got a response this morning. That's pretty fast.
Right behind, Tony, the Ozone.
Gene, the CFP provides families with stipends to travel. Is there any talk of expanding that to the New Year's Six and beyond?
The New Year's Six.
Like the other
the other
programs?
games?
Yeah.
We can do that with the other games right now,
Right.
out of the Student Opportunity Fund.
Is there talk of expanding that beyond just the CFP?
I haven't heard that conversation.
Couple more questions, unless someone else shows me. I've got a couple. Second row left, Bill from the Athletic.
Gene, there's another similar kind of high-profile case out there with a player dealing with an NCAA issue,
And Memphis, the Memphis one?
yes, and
It's
he's
interesting, yeah.
he's playing. They elected to allow him to keep playing through whatever they're going through there. I don't think you had to suspend Chase if you didn't want to.
Well, they got an injunction, right? From
Right,
a
but
legal injunction, but
Right.
yes, we could have chosen
you could have chosen.
to,
Why did you choose to pull Chase
because
out
we
and let
felt
him
that
play?
there was enough, at the time, we felt there was enough fact that a violation occurred. Let's be clear, a violation occurred. And so what you do is you make a business decision. You sit him now, or you sit him later. Because he was gonna sit. So it's just a matter of when and how many. So we made the decision and this is what we typically do. As soon as you know a violation occurred, you don't put everybody else at risk. And so we pulled them,
When you mean put everybody else at risk, you talk about potential for vacating games and things like that.
all that, take them off the field.
Front row left, Nathan.
Think about the other players in that case, Bill, does that make sense, the answer? Okay.
Sorry about that. Front row left, Nathan, Cleveland.com.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just following up on that. When you have an incident like this with a single high-profile athlete, does that trigger anything else in terms of doing sort of a sweep of the rest of the roster, just checking to make sure any other similar issue isn't out there that needs to be addressed in
Yeah,
the same
we're always
window?
doing that, we're always doing that, and that falls into the education we do, and does it cause us to actually do a sweep, if I think I know what you're talking about, we don't do that, where we ask for everybody's cell phone and bank accounts and all that kind of
I
stuff.
guess maybe not even that, but just like
More-
a survey of everybody, like, hey, anybody else have this issue, maybe speak up now so it can be.
Yeah, we
handled.
haven't done that, but it's a good point, Justin, we haven't done that. Good point, Nathan.
Right next door, Doug, Cleveland.com.
When did you guys find this out? When did the information come in?
It was after the Wisconsin game.
Monday after
I
Wisconsin?
can't remember if it was Monday, Tuesday, I
Soon
don't know.
after Wisconsin.
Sunday.
Sunday.
Day after Wisconsin. Did only Ohio State investigate and you presented your findings to the NCAA, or did the
Yes.
NCAA do any investigation of its own?
No, only us, yeah, which is consistent. This is an eligibility issue, not a major infractions issue, it's an eligibility issue.
And if it is, was there ever a chance that vacating anything from this season was ever on the table?
Never. This is a single individual eligibility issue. Had we played him, we may have been in a different spot.
If you play him after the information comes in,
Exactly.
now it's an issue. It's not really whenever something happened, it's when you became aware of it.
That's right. It could be both, though. It could be both.
Okay.
That's right, it could be both.
Why not just put it in a drawer and hope nobody ever finds out?
Who are you talking to? Where'd that come from? What was that? Is that like a
I'm
moment
sure-
of weakness?
No, I'm curious what your answer is.
We never cover anything up.
Because
We're never gonna do that.
Would that ever happen? I mean, doesn't that
In
happen?
my 34 years of doing this business, I've never even thought about doing that. You know, you own certain things in life as an individual. My integrity is all I got, and nobody's gonna take that from me. And so, I may make mistakes, I may say things wrong, I may do things wrong, but it's coming from the right place. So no, that's not even a thought of mine. And if someone asks me to do that, I'm history. I'm history. It's that simple. We're gonna do it the right way, regardless of the circumstances. If the outcome or if we, whatever the outcome is, it is what it is. I'm not gonna jeopardize my integrity and the integrity of my institution and what we're trying to teach these young men and young women. You make a mistake, and Chase is a perfect example of that. My God, he's a kid who admitted that I made a mistake, and he went public with it, and apologized to his teammates, apologized to all of Buckeye Nation. And he didn't have to do that. He could have not cooperated. To your point, great question. He could have not cooperated, try to cover it up, and say I'm going pro. No, he wanted to come back and play with his brothers. And so at the end of the day, he was transparent, he was honest, he was forthright. That's what you want in your student athletes, and that's how we have to behave. If we don't behave that way, you don't have Chase Youngs. So no, I never even thought twice about pushing it under the rug.
And I'll go one more.
We're gonna charge you in a minute.
I know.
How many is that? Is that 4 or 3?
I'll pay 3. Is this the NCAA and this system functioning at a high level that it got reported, you guys did your due
Yes.
diligence, you went to the they ruled early and quickly? Or is this the NCAA not functioning because this seems like a minor thing and a kid missed 2 games?
This was relative to process and function, to your question. It's a great case because it was reported, there was openness, there was honesty, there was transparency, and there was a response expeditiously. So, I'm no good at this, so what was it, last Sunday it was reported, and how many days is that? 8, 9? So, that's like perfecto, operationally, functionally. We can debate whether the rule is still applicable today, whether it needs to be changed. I think it's from the early 90s or late 80s maybe even. But yes, that's always a debate, whether in today's world that rule is still applicable. We got a bunch of those on the book, but so anyway, I don't know if that answers your question, Doug.
Far left, Mitch from the Associated Press.
Gene, can you just clarify, you found out about it on Sunday after the Wisconsin game. Now, you found out from someone else, and then you went to Chase and said, what about this? And he admitted it, is that what happened?
Yeah, it opened up, yes, he shared everything with us.
Okay.
And then we realized the violation
But somebody else
occurred.
reported it. Somebody else reported it, and then you went to Chase, and then Chase said, yeah. Did Chase realize it was a violation
Yeah, I'm
before
not gonna get into
that?
that. That's for Chase to talk about. That's really for him to talk about.
Fourth row left, Patrick from 24/7 Sports.
Gene, you mentioned the rule maybe not, they're being a little archaic, but based on how it's written, and I know you don't want to get into detail, but does this punishment fit the crime? We get a lot of questions about this, that, and the other thing. I'm just, without going into detail, does this make sense to you that he misses 2 games?
We requested that the one-game suspension be penalty. And so obviously, we felt differently, but we are accepting 2.
We're gonna go one more question, then I got 2 follow-ups. Clay, over to the right,
Just to
WS.
clarify, you said you did appeal, or an appeal was not necessary.
We chose not to appeal. We could have appealed to 2 games to try and get it back to 1, but we chose not to appeal.
But that's what they levied, 2 games.
Yes, that's the staff levy, it's not an appeal, okay? So
Right.
goes to staff first, they made their decision, we accepted it, as opposed to going to the committee to ask for an appeal to take it down to 1.
But it didn't rise to a 4-game
Nope.
issue.
Because staff didn't take it there, they didn't take it to 3 or take it to 4.
First of 2
You
follow-ups.
mean their staff?
Yeah,
The NCAA staff has the ability, so we submit our request for immediate reinstatement,
Right,
meaning he would have set 1 game.
right.
Okay, they chose to add a game, taking it to 2. They didn't go to 3, nor did they go to 4.
Okay,
So now, had they gone to 3 or 4, we probably would have appealed.
sure.
But we chose, with the family, to accept the 2. Does that clear it up? Okay.
First of 2 follow-ups. Austin, Letterman Row.
Gene, 2 things. Who got to break the quote-unquote good news to Chase today?
Ryan Day did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what have you learned about your first-year coach? This is kind of the first major thing going on for him.
He's a stud. I mean, I think I may have shared this before. All the things that, we thought that he was capable of have come to fruition. The things that I just wasn't sure of relative to managing the staff in this building, off the chain. But in his response to really his first big issue like this, phenomenal. Kept his focus, never lost his cool, curious, lots of questions, which was great because it was refreshing, right, frankly, because he didn't know, right? And so it was really cool, challenging, trying to understand certain things. I thought he was perfect, but he never lost the focus, and the first focus was on the other guys. Gotta do what we gotta do to help Chase, but I got these other kids. So I think I can't think of one point where he wasn't on point. It was phenomenal. And obviously you have the support of Larry Johnson, who, has been through a few bullet holes like me, so got some war wounds.
And final question, front row right, Bill from the Dispatch.
When you first talked to Chase about the violation, how would you characterize his response? How scared was he? And also, how do you think this could affect the team getting him back? What sense do you get about that?
I wasn't the first one to talk to Chase. Our compliance office did, and he paused, obviously, connected with his family. Then they called back, and then we got him on board. So I can't really answer that first question. I apologize. I did talk to him later in the process, and he was phenomenal. Just before he issued his apology, he told me what he was going to do. We sat and chatted for a while. He was phenomenal. I asked him, I said, you think we're really gonna fight this? Do you want to come back? Let's not go to war if you're gonna check out. And he's like, I want to come back. I want to play with my teammates. And that right there just gave me more energy. So he was phenomenal. Just great.
And in terms of how you think this might affect the team?
I don't know. I haven't been out there, so I've been running around all day. My assumption is they're so happy for him. You guys interviewed some of them when this first came out, and all that I saw they talk about was how supportive they were of him. These type of things can fraction the group dynamics and the chemistry of a team, and that certainly has not happened here because of him. Because of him, and I think you all know that you just don't become a captain here because of your talent. You become a captain because of your character. C.J. Saunders, perfect example. So to me, this team has embraced Chase as a person, and I think because of that, it's held tight, and I think it's going to hold tight. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I think Chase is a large part of that. He's just a great human being.
And we do have one late question, front row Bill, Joey from the Dispatch.
Gene, before the suspension happened, Chase was talked about in the Heisman Trophy discussion. the award has integrity as part of the parameters of it,
Right.
but you were, I guess, pleased with Chase's candidness throughout this process. Would you like voters to still consider him for that award? Or just
I
what are
sure
your
would.
what
I
are your
think
thoughts on that?
I think he deserves to be in New York. And, you know, I was fortunate. I was a roommate of a defensive end who ended up in New York, a guy by the name of Ross Brown. He ended up in New York. And Chase reminds me of him. In the collegiate space, he was so disruptive. And Chase is that type of player. He is so disruptive. And one of the things we did talk to him about was stay in shape, because if you come back, you got to come back like you were. I remember that conversation with Ryan. It's like, okay, you got to work out, man. So anyway, I think he deserves to be there. When you're talking about the best player in all of college football, I think that's, frankly, my own opinion. With the Heisman, we're going to lean to the quarterback, we're going to lean to the running back, we're going to lean to that. But there's a lot of defensive players that I think should be considered, and he's certainly one of them. And so hopefully he can get back in the conversation. Thank you guys so much. Apologize I couldn't answer the details.
Point of clarification,
Yeah.
the information came into Ohio State. Was that football program, the athletic department, university?
Athletic department. Oh
Athletic.
wait, no, I'm sorry. University. I'll just say university. University.
Another point of clarification, when y'all send it to the NCAA, do like 2 or 3 guys look at it, one person? Who finally makes that call?
Tim,
You
I
know what I'm
don't
saying?
know how many people they have on that NCAA staff that looks at that.
Who
I
says
really
instead
don't
of
know.
1, 2, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know what, I know they have a group of people, I just don't know how many. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.